Sup guys, it's Corrupted, and today I have a new theory craft for Amon. It works a little bit different than the other one, because I want to call this one, like, I don't actually, you know what, we're going to call it the Berserker. Shout out to Wonderlands. And this is going to look a little weird, and I got to explain all the interactions. But we're basically putting all our skill points into the red tree and trying to do a lot of frost stuff. And we're going to use the Elementalist class mod to get a bunch of movement speed and a bunch of status effect damage. That way we don't have to take it from the tree. And I'll show off that class mod right now. This class mod's pretty interesting. Shout out to Mental Mars for cataloging all this stuff. But it's whenever an affinity skill gains a stack, all unlocked affinity skills gain a stack. For each stack of affinity from all affinity skills, Amon gains increased movement speed. So the important thing here is, with this interaction, is they confirmed that the points given from class mods are unlocked whether you have points in those perks or not. So you don't even have to be in the tree. And that's important because these two blue tree perks are the fire and ice affinity respectively. So it's going to put at 20, this one puts 2 points into Burning Rage. And Burning Rage is a kill skill. Killing an enemy with incendiary damage gains a stack of flame affinity for a duration. And it gives you action speed cooldown, which is why we get away with not having that much action skill cooldown, because we're going to get 2 points in here for free. And then it puts, this particular roll puts 3 points into Icy Rage, which gives you Cryo. When you kill an enemy with Cryo, you gain a Cryo. It gives you gun damage. We're not worried about the gun damage. We don't care about that at all. But the reason we're doing it is because this is the Berserker, so we're doing a lot of ice damage. And so we'll proc Icy Rage a bunch once we get into what we're doing in this tree, but we basically made it to where action skill now does a bunch of cryo damage, like all the stuff to do cryo damage, so we can get Icy Rage stacked up. And whenever we get a stack of Icy Rage, we also get a stack of Burning Rage, which will give us more cooldown, which means that we can get back into our action skill faster. And you could theoretically, hopefully, get one that puts like 4 into Burning Rage. Get like 4 points into Burning Rage instead of just 2. That way, if it goes up, let's say it's got 5 layers, that's 6% extra skill cooldown with 1 point at max stacks. So that's a lot if you can put all 5 points into here. And then the stuff in this tree is just all about melee for the most part, because we're just punching people in the face. So kill skill, we get shield regen, which is an important interaction that we're going to talk about in a minute, why that matters. And then we're also going to get movement speed. It's looking like it's going to be 27% movement speed, hopefully, because that's a good bit of movement speed, and that'd be great. So we're hoping that's what it does, but we don't know for sure yet. But fingers crossed, it's 27% movement speed. And then we're doing 5 points in a Discombobulate. Probably Amon's single strongest perk, just because if they go up to 25%, that's so good. A quarter of all your melees. And it also says melee critical strike. It doesn't say melee attack. So there's a chance it makes it to where your forward skill can crit also, which would be awesome if that is the case. And then we're going to grab Weaken, because this has a chance to be the single most powerful point in the game, just because your grenades and your melee have a chance to weaken. We don't know how much more damage they take, but we know they deal 40% less damage, which is really strong. But we don't know what the final verdict on this is going to be. But as long as it's any percentage more than 5% per point is cracked. Then we're going to take the 5 titanium knuckles. We want that probably 25% melee damage and the 15% skill damage, because it should fuel back into thermal diffusion, which is the augment we're going to take, by the way. It makes it where if you press the action skill, you get a wide incendiary punch, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for if you press the melee button, you do a cryo punch instead of the normal big punch, like the big fire punch. And so that's why we're doing that one. So that way we have the fire damage. It also gets bonus damage based on 20% of our maximum shield capacity. So the big question is that when your shield's full, you get that 20%? Or is it just an extra 20% of whatever number your shield capacity is? I'm going to have to test it, but there's a chance that's a ton of damage with some of the stuff in the game. And then I'm going to go over here, grab Berserk. It's just bonus cryo damage with melee. Whenever we activate our forge skill, you get 15 seconds of it, and then it turns into more cryo damage, which that's what we want. This is cryo damage build. We're just trying to do all the cryo damage. So we get part of the duration back, get up to 200% cryo damage, and then our melees are doing cryo damage, our action skills doing cryo damage, and our forge skills doing cryo damage. So it's just massive amount of cryo damage. And then 3 into My Touch is Death. It's whenever you deal melee damage, there's a chance to activate his kill skills. So it says melee damage, not melee attacks. So I'm assuming stuff that does melee damage counts. So like if we have a melee ordnance or something like that, I'm hoping it counts, but we're going to have to test it. And then Horcleave, you turn the giant hammer into a giant executioner axe that does cryo damage. It does a lot of cryo damage, and so that's where we're taking it. It also has guaranteed freeze, and that's important because in previous Borderlands games, freeze gives you a 2.5 multiplier to melee damage while mobbing. Hopefully that's the same here, and we just get to do just one shot everyone that can be frozen. And then we're going to take 5 points into the fray. You get damage for being close. And this says damage. It does not say melee damage. So theoretically, since it's just damage, there's a chance this is multiplicative. And we want every multiplicative damage buff we can get. So we go here. And then this one, Harbinger, is just going to make thermal diffusion better. That's why we take Harbinger. It's kill skill. You get increased melee damage. So if let's just say they go up 1%, like melee damage goes up 1% and the max shield capacity goes up 2% per point. So that's 5% times 5, 25% melee damage. But then your shield capacity goes to 10%, so 50%. And let's say you have a 3,000 point shield, right? A 3,000 point shield, or HP shield. So that would be another 1,500, so you'd have 4,500 shields just for killing 5 people or theoretically punching 5 people in the face. That's pretty good. That's a lot of survivability. But remember, 20% of that 4,500 is going to be added to your rocket punches now. And that's theoretically a lot of extra damage, because if it works like it does in Borderlands 2, where things like that, instead of being a modifier, it's an extra hit that is also increased by melee damage, that's huge. and it skyrockets your damage to insane numbers with the decent shield. And then we're going to take 5 points into Catastrophe, just because the other point, the Dragon's Breath, doesn't help us at all. And we're probably going to have something that does Shock. So I'll take the free melee crit chance, because we don't know how many times it stacks, but it's probably a decent bit, so it's more damage. But we're mainly here for Fist of Stone, because whenever you deal melee damage, you get a chunk of your Force skill back, and a lot of the stuff we're doing is melee damage. So we just walk around punching people in the face, Horror Cleave, they all freeze, we punch them all in the face to blow them up, and it gives us most of Horror Cleave back. And then we just get a rinse and repeat until everything's dead. And then, like I said, thanks to the Elementalist, we'll get the Ice or Cryo affinity skill and the Fire affinity skill, which will make up for the fact that we didn't take the other cooldown related stuff, because we'll have Burning Rage to give us a bunch of cooldown, and then like we'll have the gun damage, but that doesn't matter. But what we really want is to know if instead of that green perk, that green perk's not bad. The green perk's not bad. Where's it at again? It is right there. It just increases your cryo whenever you do fire damage with guns, and vice versa. So like, it's not a bad perk, but if that can be the Thunderous Rage instead, if it can roll Thunderous Rage, this is the one you want. Killing an enemy with shock damage will grant a stack of shock affinity, and it increases your crit hit damage. Like, because the only reason you like Icy Rage is because it's going to give you movement speed. But if you can grab that one, the Thunderous Rage on it, if the class mod can roll Thunderous Rage, holy crap, you're going to get so much crit damage, because it's 1 point is 5% crit damage. So let's say it can roll 7 at level 20. So let's say you get 3 points in the shock. Actually, you probably want 3 points in the shock, 3 points in the fire, 1 point in the ice. That way you can have it'd go up to 3, so 3% per point, and then be 15%, and then be a little over 15% over here. Or not 15%, a little over 6% here, probably 7, and then 1% here, and then you get all the like movement speed buffs, and you theoretically get a run around as fast as Rafa, and that'd be really cool interaction to have. And so basically everything would work together, because you want your shield to be good and big for this thing, because Bloodlust is good. So also we're probably going to use armor, because we want armor to break, and we're going to use a shield that breaks itself to constantly trigger Bloodlust is the plan. And then so basically you run around punching people in the face, you get crit chance, you weaken them to make them take more damage and do less damage, get the melee damage, get up in their face, pop Horror Cleave, action skill, punch them in the face until they die with the ice attack, and then you Horror Cleave them again since you got it back. And then since you're getting kills with Cryo, you get Icy Rage triggers, which gives you Burning Rage. And if it can roll for Thunderous Rage, would also give you Thunderous Rage. So you're just stacking movement speed, and you're killing people with ice. And then you can also, you don't have to go the ice route. I just like ice more than fire, personally. It's just a personal thing. But if you want to go with fire damage instead, just grab Molten Coal or Molten Royal. Like you have the, like you can just swap, like you went down far enough to do it. And technically, if you want to do shock, you can just grab Stormcutter too. It's really up to you. And then you can change to Pyroclast to have a full shield all the time. Thanks to that. And it also lets you stay in your action skill longer. So yeah, that's my I'm calling it the Berserker. Shout out to Wonderlands. Thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out the Twitch below for the stream at launch. And thanks again. I hope you all have a good one. Peace.